Hello, everybody. Our numbers keep rising, so I'm going to wait until they plateau a little bit, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Thanks for being here. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Karina Carpenter. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm one of the associate directors for the Office of New Student and Family Programs. Thank you so much for spending your afternoon with us to talk about Trinity advising, all things course registration, everything you need to know before starting classes in the fall. This is our summer transition series on Trinity advising. We have many more coming up this summer that we'll talk about at the end. To kick us off, just so that we are kind of aware of how the structure of today will go, is that we have a Q&A feature ready to go. So the chat is disabled, and we do that so that it's only on the Q&A. So go ahead and ask your questions there. Some questions we might ask or answer via typing it and typing the answers to you. Others we may ask live at the end of this webinar. And just so that we know, the webinar is being recorded, and that's so that we can follow up and reference it at other times. So today we have two amazing colleagues. We're so lucky to have them here with us. We have Jen Hoff, who is a senior academic advisor in the Academic Advising Center. And we also have Ian High, who's our new associate director of the Academic Advising Center. And so at this point, I'm going to turn it over to them. And we're going to go ahead and get started.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good morning for some of you. Thanks for being here. We're really glad you're here. I'm already seeing that people are adding questions into the Q&A. So clearly you're coming with questions, which I really appreciate. Again, my name is Ian High. I'm the new associate director of the Academic Advising Center. I'm joined by my colleague, Jen Hoff. We're going to do a really short, kind of quick, bare bones presentation here just to introduce ourselves, our office, a little bit about how advising works in the ecosystem here at Duke. Some of this will be really familiar, some of this might be new. We'll move a little bit towards thinking about summer registration and try to lay out some important dates and offer you a handful of action items by the end that will allow you to think about what you can do this summer and over the next few weeks to prepare yourself for your time here at Duke. So go ahead and move that slide for me. I'm grateful for that. So this is the Academic Advising Center. We are nestled quietly on East Campus. Hopefully you've had a chance to familiarize yourself a little bit with where Duke sits and where West Campus is and where you'll be living on East Campus. But there's a reason why we're there. And we're back here behind the dorms so that you can find us. I'll show you soon that our office is open to walk-in hours. If you want to move the next slide, actually, it'll talk a little bit about who we are. So the Academic Advising Center is the center on campus that often kind of like leads and guides what we think of as pre-major advising. I'll talk more about the larger advising ecosystem in just a moment, but my office in particular, where we work, we do drop-in advising. So you will have a distinct assigned college advisor to you who you'll meet later on this summer. But you'll also have the chance if you want to come in informally to get a quick question answered that you don't want to send an email about, you just want to drop in. We also offer specialty advising in our office for those of you, when you get to that stage and maybe in your second year, you begin exploring your major, you have some higher level questions, you need to talk to a kind of specialist in a particular disciplinary area. They're also housed in our office. We also send regular newsletters to students and to the college advisors in the hopes of making sure that everybody's on the same page together. You will have already hopefully received the newsletter from us. I'll remind you about going to check your official Duke email looking for that because it has some valuable information in it. But that's roughly the Academic Advising Center. Next slide, please. This is, broadly speaking, kind of narrow definition of how we think of academic advising at Duke. Some of you will be familiar with the guidance counselor model of your high schools. Maybe you had some kind of formal guidance or some kind of advisor in high school. I think you'll find that it works a little bit differently here. We do get emails, and some of you have emailed us. Some of you were thinking about emailing us, kind of asking, hey, I need to know what my 4-year plan looks like for this major. If you look and begin to understand Duke's curriculum, you'll begin to understand there's not one pathway towards the majors. There's not one pathway to med school. There's not one pathway to law school. There's not one pathway in to an English major. One of the things that an academic advisor does is try to help you figure out what pathway in that direction is the right one for you. As a result of that, college advisors are trained and taught not to tell you what to take, but to help you think about what you need to take. Now, they want to help you identify what your requirements are. No one's trying to have you goof up your requirements, right? The idea is that we will say, hey, don't forget about this. Remember that this is coming. I noticed you haven't taken care of this. But in terms of what class should I take, the advisor is there to help you think through what's best for you. Some of you will go into different kinds of specialties in your future careers, right? And the classes that you take now will shape that trajectory. Ultimately, what we think of as an advisor role is as a thought partner, someone to help you understand, get a lay of the land, be welcome in this place, get a sense for what Duke was about, how to fit in here, how to belong here, how to create that belonging, how to create that fit for yourself, how to find people. But as it relates to registration, right, to help you know the deadlines, help you know how to interface with everything, but also at the same time, to really help you feel like you have a lot of control and a lot of power over the pathway that you take. All right, next slide, please. I mentioned earlier that there's a really large ecosystem here. So you're not alone, right? We're not going to tell you what to do and what to take, but you're also not alone in trying to figure out what the best pathway forward is. And we're not the only players in this. This is how we think of at Duke what the advising ecosystem looks like. I'll talk more about college advisors. That's who our office helps manage with you. That's who you're going to be contacted and put in touch with this summer. You will eventually, in the end of your sophomore year, beginning of your junior year, meet your major advisor. You'll have an academic dean when you come on who will help you answer large policy and procedural questions. Again, I mentioned specialty advising. That's our directors of academic engagement who work out of our office. We also have students who are trained peer success leaders on campus if you want to talk to a student and not a faculty member or a kind of another professional advisor. We also have pre-professional advising for those of you that are tracked in different kinds of profession, for law, for healthcare, for those of you in business, and lots of other faculty and other advising partners. I saw, somebody, if you're thinking about traveling abroad, your college advisor may be able to point you in the right direction, but they may not be as deeply knowledgeable as the actual advisors that are in the global education office. So the idea here is we really want you to think about you being in the middle of this wheel, and there being lots of people around you to want to help you figure out what that pathway looks like for you. Again, there's no one here who's going to tell you what you have to do, but they will help you figure out both what you are required to do and what's in your own best interest towards the path that you want to go down. Next slide, please. So I want to talk a little bit about the college advisors. These are the advisors that you will meet later on this summer. I'll say later on this summer, I'll talk specific dates in a couple slides. But your college advisor who you'll meet over the summer really is here to help you with registration and to help you land here at Duke when you do show up on campus. So the idea is this will maybe be the first person who you really sit down with and have a one-on-one conversation with about why you're here and what you want to do while you're here and what you're thinking about doing and what your kind of options might be. This starts in the summer. I'll give you some idea on how to prepare for that, how to come in ready for that. But again, we also want you to come talk to your advisor, not just in the summer and not just right before registration, but to try to build a relationship with this person. Our college advisors come from just about every corner of this university. Some of them are faculty members. Some of them work out of an advising office. Some of them work in the financial aid office. We have people from all over the place in athletics, in student health, people with all kinds of different areas of specialty. So your advisor may not be an expert on every requirement in the chemistry department, but they will help you figure out where to go find that information, how to set up a meeting with the director of undergraduate studies for that department and who that person is and how best to reach out to them. But again, as I said earlier, we really think about this role as somebody who's here to support you, to welcome you to this place, but also to help you think through what you want to do and how to be successful at this institution. All right, next slide. This is kind of the nitty gritty. This is our first big chunk of things. This is the summer and the fall. You're probably more concerned with summer, and we'll talk about that in just a moment, but I want you to see the kind of full set of advising cycles. Advisees get assigned to advisors. So that's you being put in touch with your advisors in mid-June. That date's in flux. We're not the only office, not the only team invested in this. So we're hoping that by mid-June, we think that things will fall into place and that those assignments will be passed on to the advisors, who are encouraged as soon as they can to reach out to you. Now, some of your advisors are traveling. Some of them are doing study away programs with Duke. Some of them are doing research. Some of them will be with their families. We ask everyone to meet with their student. You will have a meeting with your advisor before registration on July 11th and 13th. So sometime between late June and early July, your advisor will reach out to you via your official Duke email to introduce themselves, to tell you who they are, and to send you some information about how to set up a virtual appointment with them so that you can meet, discuss your schedule before your registration date to make sure that you feel like you have all the information that you need to be successful in registration. You'll repeat this process in a similar way in the fall once you're here. We hope that you will check in with your college advisor within those first few weeks of classes, just to actually go meet them, see a human being face to face, ask any follow-up questions, seek some clarity, begin to build that relationship a little bit more. You'll get email updates from your advisor periodically as needed. You can always email them to ask questions, email them to set up a meeting just for coffee, and they'll look towards registration again in early November. So once again, you will be required to meet with your college advisor one more time to go over your schedule and choices that you've made before you'll be able to register for classes in November. Next slide. But let's focus a little bit here on summer. So I really want to make sure that this kind of flow is clear. So again, your advisor will be connected with you officially on our end in mid-June, at which point, when they are available, they will begin to reach out to you. So we encourage you to look for an email from your college advisor by checking your official Duke email account in mid to late June into early July. They will have gotten in touch with you at some point by then. Some of you will hear before, some of you will hear later. There's not one date that this all happens. Again, your college advisor schedule is their own. We try to create as much runway between when these assignments are made and when registration opens to ensure enough time for these meetings. These meetings tend to last maybe about a half an hour, sometimes 45 minutes, sometimes 20 minutes. But the idea is to block enough time to come in, and I'll tell you on the next slide how to prepare for that meeting. So let's go ahead and move to that next slide. So there are lots of things that you can do now, and some of this you will have already heard. You'll have heard it in emails, you'll hear it in other webinars, but the idea is to check your Duke email regularly. Start getting into that process. Look for the Academic Advising Center, that's us, our newsletter, which was sent out to you. I think there's some valuable information and dates. Some of this is just going to be repeated in that space. And also to begin looking out for that introductory scheduling email from your college advisor. Again, sometime in mid to late June or early July. In the meantime, you can also send your AP, your advanced placement, your international placement, baccalaureate, or other pre-matriculation credit reports to the Office of the University Registrar. You can tell your advisor when you meet with them what your scores are and what they got, but they're going to begin to look in your record for the officially reported scores. So when you're able, begin sending those to the registrar, not to your advisor, not to our office. The registrar is the only one who can really do anything with those. You can also begin to explore our website, the Academic Advising Center. You just search Duke Advising, it'll take you right to our landing site. As well as looking at the learning and registration sections of the Blue Book. Your college advisor in the first meeting you have, we think of as a pre-registration meeting. You will talk about you and why you're coming to Duke and who you are. They will be curious to meet you, but they will also want to help you think through the classes that you've selected. Learning how registration works before that meeting is really valuable to you. Your advisor can clarify the details and nuts and bolts of how it's going to work, but you having some lay of the land on what registration is going to look like and what your responsibilities are will be really valuable. And that's laid out for you between the learning section and the registration section of the Blue Book, which is found online. Now, here are the things that we think of from our office, what you should be doing, what you need to be doing before this visit. Before this virtual meeting. One is to complete your first year questions in Duke Hub. That starts June 5th. You can start answering those questions on June 5th. Again, you're not going to probably meet until mid to late June, early July, but having those first year questions when an advisor goes to open your profile is incredibly helpful on our end. It gives us a chance to learn about who you are, things you might be interested at Duke, We can't just advise someone who we don't know anything about them. It gives us a chance for you to talk about languages that you've studied, languages that you speak at home, areas of interest that you might have, things you're curious about. It gives you a chance to signal. I really don't want you to think about it as an extension of your admissions application, because it's not. What it really is a chance for you to be honest with somebody who's interested and curious about you, to help give them a sense of how they might best help you think through what you want to do next. Once you feel like you've got those questions answered and you've looked through the learning and registration sections of the Blue Book, we'll ask you to start adding some classes to your shopping cart and Duke Hub. Your shopping cart can hold a whole lot of classes. Now, you don't want to add 50 classes and go into your registration meeting like, hey, take a look at all 50 of these classes. You certainly could, and say, hey, here are the top 5 that I have. Here are the top 10 that I'm thinking of. Here are my top 15 kind of wish list. But the idea is a chance for you to just go in and add things that you're curious about, things that look good to you, to begin building different kinds of schedules, to say, okay, I really want to take this chemistry class. It meets at this time and it meets at this time. I don't know which one I want. I'm going to put them both in there. I'm going to be able to build different kinds of imaginary schedules for you. We would love for every student to get their dream schedule, but the reality is that very few of you will get your perfect dream schedule with all the classes at precisely the times that you'd like. Your shopping cart's also the place to add multiple sections of first year writing, multiple sections of different kind of chemistry labs, to begin finding different kinds of schedules, different iterations on what that might look like. But again, it'll be really valuable when you sit down with your advisor, when they go to open your shopping cart, it's helpful to see what's in there. And they can help you think through, oh, that wait list isn't going to move. Or, yeah, that's a really great class for you. Or, oh, hey, I don't think you have the Spanish level necessarily to take this 400 level class. And also, I would encourage you to, both here and outside of this, to begin writing down questions and plan to bring those to your advising meetings. Now, there's a real world in which your advisor may not be able to answer every single question that you have. The idea is, again, our advisors come from every area of this university. They're not deep experts in everything. You might get someone from the chemistry department. You might get someone from the English department. You might get somebody from athletics who are really strong subject experts in the areas that they're in. But they will be able to point you in the right direction, to be able to pull up the right resources online, to move through and think through them together to make sure everyone is on the same page and you have real clarity over what your next steps are. Write down those questions, bring them in, and an advisor who doesn't have an answer for you will get one for you, and make sure that it gets to you as soon as they can. Next slide, please. Again, just want to reiterate this. The Duke Blue Book is an incredible resource for a lot of this information. The learning section will lay out a lot of the requirements that Trinity has, what we're looking for in a 4-year cycle from a student, and registration will get into the nitty-gritty of how to register, how to open up your shopping cart and add a class, how to do an advanced search for classes that only start at certain times or meet at certain days. So it'll be really valuable for you in learning a little bit about how to navigate Duke Hub and how to begin putting together your imaginary kind of like hoped for schedule. All right, next slide, please. I also here have a small video of our own advising page. This is our landing site, and on our homepage right now, you'll see a link down here that's built for you, which is the class of 2027 summer advising. You'll see here on the left, course selection, course placement, frequently asked questions, AP charts, a lot of information that you may have questions about today, and we'll do our best to kind of begin answering through them, are also on our website. These are really good places for you to begin looking through. So earlier on a slide when I said explore our website, this is specifically what I meant. We have a site dedicated here just for first years, pre-health information, course placement, thinking about AP, IB, international test credits, and our kind of frequently asked questions, which is quite robust. As you can imagine, we do get a lot of questions. Next slide, please. We're super delighted to have you coming. We're super delighted to work with you and excited to help connect you with your college advisor this summer. My colleague and I would love to do what we can to answer the questions that are beginning to emerge out of the Q&A.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ian. And we do have quite a few questions. We're going to jump right in. And if anyone else on the Zoom has questions, keep filling out the Q&A, and then we'll just kind of jump in from there. So kind of the first bucket of questions we have is around students that might be interested in pre-health or some sort of pre-med track. Could you talk a little bit about the pre-health advisor opportunity that we have here? or maybe what some classes, what should those students be thinking about right now?
I'll jump in for this. So first of all, there's going to be a wonderful pre-health webinar coming up soon. Yes. So I would highly recommend that. And really, your general college advisor will help you think these things through. And the best thing you can do now is look at the pre-health. If you just Google Duke pre-health advising prepare page, they have all kinds of sample schedules and ways to help students think about based on what AP credit you might have, what classes you might want. And then this is something that you can begin to do some research on now in preparation for working with your college advisor. And then usually for pre-health advising, so the pre-health office doesn't meet with students during the summer because they're busy doing other things, but you will have opportunities for drop-in advising, and they do presentations in the fall. So there's lots of time to get all that information.
Yeah, I think getting that pre-planning link into the chat would be really helpful, or wherever students can see it, because I think that that's the first place that I'd point my students when they want to know more about what's going on. It really is a really incredible resource with sample schedules. And again, you can see that there's not just one pathway towards med school, not one pathway towards what pre-health might look like at this university.
Great, thank you. Can we, or can you guys remind folks where they might be able to find their college advisor information on Duke Hub?
Yes. So one reason people might be struggling to find it is that it's not there yet, but it is in Duke Hub, and it will show up under their profile in Duke Hub. Once that information populates again in mid-June is when that will begin to happen. But again, they don't have to worry about, you don't have to worry about it. Obviously, I want you to be excited about that meeting, but your college advisor will reach out to you. And it's really that kind of like, hey, maybe it's after it's that first week of July, and it's July 7th, and I haven't heard it from anybody. We will be here to offer advising. Our office will make sure that you speak with somebody before your registration. It is really, really rare that a college advisor has something come up and can't meet with students. There are a handful of college advisors who have already reached out to us to say, hey, I'm not going to be able to meet with my students because I'll be leading this program. And our office has that covered, and we will reach out directly to those students to say, hey, we will be doing your summer advising session so that you can meet your advisor once you arrive on campus. But the idea is we really want you to relax. There are a lot of people on the back end who are working to make this matching happen. The best place actually to find your advisor is to wait for an email from them. You will get an email from your college advisor in late June or early July to set up a meeting to introduce themselves, saying who they are.
Awesome. So can advisors help with things outside of finding what classes to take? Can they help with internships and finding research opportunities on campus?
You want to, Will's popcorn, you want to do this one?
Sure. Yes, absolutely. They are generalists. And so the idea is they know a lot about well, they know enough about a lot of things, but what they also are is a resource for pointing students to the resources that they really want to find. So your advisor may not know exactly about internships, but they know how to help you look at the Career Center website and look at the career communities and find the things that you're interested in, which have links to internships you like, and they know how to talk to students about the sort of research databases. If you're looking for ways to get involved in research, they're going to know places all over campus and other offices to help get you there. And really, having a conversation with your advisor, the more information you can give them in your first year questions, and then when you're talking to them, just to let them know who you are and what you're interested in and what kinds of things, and you can brainstorm together to figure out. I think one thing is that students often feel like they need to figure everything out immediately. And I would just say, you don't need to figure it all out right away. Your advisor will help you, and you'll kind of move toward those things, and you will absolutely be able to find the things that are going to be the things that will connect with your academics and your extracurriculars. But it sometimes takes a while, and sometimes it's better to actually get here and check things out, and then you can sort that out.
I'll also add that we have specialty advising in our office, the directors of academic engagement. which again, not a week 1 meeting, not a week 2 meeting. But once you're here, once you feel like you've got some momentum, you're like, hey, I'm interested in exploring this major. I'm interested in exploring this career track. What kinds of internship opportunities are out there for somebody who wants to go into film? Then you'll have a DAE meeting with our DAE who covers arts and sciences. And again, you can find us on our website in terms of who we are, right? You'll see a breakdown of our advising and who's here, who's kind of like, again, Jen is our senior academic advisor. We have some disciplinary specialists for the social sciences. We're in the process of onboarding a new natural and quantitative sciences director of academic engagement, someone who knows the field, who knows the kind of time cycles in place and will be able to help you this. But again, think about that wheel, right? Like your college advisor will help you think through this, but they will also be the first to admit to say, like, this is well outside of what I know. Let me help plug you in to the community here to point you in the right direction. But 100% bring it up. Don't ever stop yourself from saying, oh, my person's in chemistry, so I'm not going to ask them about film studies, right? The idea is like, just because they know a whole lot. And the idea is they know when they don't know something, and they know then when they need to reach out to it, like in the larger ecosystem, to begin to support answering questions. And again, the sooner you know these things, the better. The more runway you can give an advisor to track down an answer, as opposed to like, hey, it's a week before summer starts and I don't have an internship, as opposed to being able to say, I'm really curious about summer internships and I want to know more about them. How do they work? Who do I talk to? Somebody can say, great, I don't know the answer to this, but I'm going to give me a few days and I'll give you some good resources. I think that's a great way to use that relationship with the college advisor that you build.
Are there any classes that first year students have to take?
Yes. So there are 2 big things that we need every student to do. One is to take Writing 101. The other is to take a college seminar. I'll talk a little bit about that. So you might be like, okay, well, I've got to find a Writing 101. Soon you will see in Duke Hub, the university does not have enough sections of Writing 101 to offer it to every single person in the first year class at the same time. So the idea is that you will either be assigned to Writing 101 in the fall, or you will be assigned to Writing 101 in the spring. That will be very clear in Duke Hub. You will see it really clearly marked. And if you are assigned to take Writing 101, we really encourage you to put multiple sections of Writing 101 in your shopping cart. They are themed classes, so you will spend some time looking around, find ones that interest you. But again, they are meant to be capped and small. They are capped at, I believe, 15 students. So again, the idea that you're going to get your top choice or your top 3 choices, again, just depends on where the numbers fall in terms of how registration works for you. So I think the more classes you can be open to putting in that shopping cart, right? The more sections of Writing 101, if you're taking it in the fall, the better. The other thing we ask students to do is to take a seminar. We often call it take a first year seminar. That sometimes leads to some misleading registration issues. So students need to take a seminar in their first year, either in the fall or in the spring. We often advise, so this is not a rule, that if you're taking Writing 101 in the fall, take your seminar in the spring. If you're taking Writing 101 in the spring, take your seminar in the fall. Again, they tend to often be more writing focused classes, and it can be nice to separate them out, but inevitably some of you, because of your schedule, will take them at the same time. Totally fine to do so. The seminars, we offer at Duke several seminars that are just for first year students. So when you're beginning to search for classes and you're looking for seminars, you can find classes that are listed as 89S. And classes that have that course marker 89S are set aside exclusively, they're seminars, what the S is for, exclusively for first year students. But a first year student can take any seminar for which they're qualified. So if you are someone who is a native Spanish speaker and you really want to work on your foreign language, you can take a 300 level Spanish seminar that will both fulfill your language requirement at Duke. Everyone will take language regardless of how fluent, whatever your fluency is, you will take a language sequence while you're here, or at least a language course. So somebody with a really high facility in Spanish can take a 300 level Spanish seminar, and that will count as their first year seminar, though it's not exclusively for first year students. So I think that's one kind of valuable distinction to make. You can take any seminar for which you're qualified, but those 89S seminars are specifically designed for first year students and will have just first year students. Do you want to add or clarify?
No, I was just going to say, aside from foreign language, usually seminars at the 200 or lower
Mm,
number
thanks.
are
That's right.
both appropriate.
Yeah, that's great. Seminars at 200 level or lower. Good.
Okay, so there are two main colleges at Duke, right? We have the College of Trinity and Pratt. And so we have a few questions about students who might still be figuring out which is best for them. And the Pratt School is the Pratt School of Engineering. And so is there any advice or guidance for students who are interested in maybe taking classes in both? Can you take classes in both? Is this something they should talk to their advisor about? How do they navigate one foot in each?
That is a good question. And we do have all the detail for everything I'm going to say is on one of our FAQs. For Trinity students who are interested in trying Pratt, the best thing to do is to look at the Pratt Blue Book. So each Trinity has a Blue Book, Pratt has a Blue Book. So read the learning section and the registration section to get a really good idea of what their schedules look like. And then you try to mirror a Pratt schedule. So usually that's going to be chemistry, calculus, EGR 101, EGR 103, depending on if you have computer science AP credit. There is also a Qualtrics form for students who are interested in EGR 101, who are Trinity students. You can get yourself on the wait list. Usually Trinity students can't take it in the fall, but sometimes they can. But EGR 103 is an option. So essentially, even if you're Trinity, you can mirror a Pratt schedule and you can contact a Pratt dean to talk about advising if you've looked at the Blue Book. And I don't know how many students on here are in Pratt and interested in Trinity. Essentially, you do it the other way and you look at the Trinity Blue Book, you look at the learning section, you look at registration. And what we usually talk about is just exploring classes. So really, it's pretty wide open. And for those students, you're not going to have an assigned college advisor in Trinity, but you can reach out to our office because we're on call. That's one other thing too, that even if you meet with your advisor, but you have other questions or follow-up or at any time throughout the summer, our office is available. There's one of us on call every single day. So you can call in, chat with someone, you can email us all the time. So we can help sort that out and help someone think through what classes they might take.
I think too, just it's important to say you don't have to know day one. Obviously, this is something that you would like to sort out. And I think the idea of like building a schedule that loosely mirrors if you're in Trinity, building a schedule that mirrors what's happening in Pratt is a really good practice. But I would say like you have that first semester to figure it out. And then after your fall semester, it's nice to have some clarity over what you want to do so that you can matriculate into Pratt if you're going from Trinity to Pratt in the spring. Right. So again, this is not a day one. This is not a week one. If you really feel like I just want to feel it out, let me take some classes in Trinity. Feel it out. Be here for a semester. I think mirroring to a certain extent what that calendar might look like will make that transition a little smoother for you. But you kind of have that first semester. That's also true here, and it may not always feel this way, of thinking about like pre-health too. If some of you are thinking about going to med school, that is not a decision you have to make on day one. If you're somebody who's like, you know what, I'm gonna go into law, and then after a semester here, you realize, you know what, I really do care about health. It's not too late. You've not missed the med school train. You have a semester, I think, here to be here, to land, to take classes, and to figure some stuff out before you need to feel like, oh, I'm behind, I'm late. It may inevitably feel like, oh, I'm behind, I'm a semester behind. You're not. You have the fall semester here to really get here, take some classes that make sense to you, feel things out, and then decide, yeah, this is the right pathway for me. No, I should be in Pratt. That makes way more sense to me. Or yes, now I want to go back into this pre-health track that I was thinking about doing. So be easy with yourself. You do have some time to figure these things out. The curriculum is built to help you succeed, not to watch some of you who are still figuring things out not have that space. We want you to have that space.
And Ian, kind of very similarly to that, if a student does decide to transfer, are those classes lost? Are there some credits that will be brought over? How does that work?
Jen, you're probably clearer on the transfer of the credits than I am.
In most cases, well, so it depends. If you are in Trinity and you're going to Pratt and you take a Pratt schedule, I mean, obviously all of those things will count. If you're in Trinity, but you take Trinity classes, so Pratt does have a requirement for some humanities and social science classes. And so some of in general, most of the things that you take will kind of count, but they might not all count. But if you're in Pratt and then you come over to Trinity, the only things that won't count are EGR 101. So chem will count because that's, you know, still a regular class. Math will count, physics, anything aside from the specific EGR 101. EGR 103 does count because that's cross-listed. Essentially, it's similar to Comp Sci 101, so that's all fine. So, and really, I guess I would use this opportunity to say that, broadly speaking, even though it looks kind of complicated because there are areas of knowledge and modes of inquiry, the way the curriculum is set up is very flexible. It is way easier than students think to meet all your requirements, which really does mean that you can poke around and try things out and you're going to be fine, and you're going to graduate on time. You could maybe even graduate early if that's something of interest. So really, you don't have to worry that much about it.
Great. Switching gears just a little bit, can we talk a little bit about students who might be in the focus program, in particular about like the seminar classes? How do they register? What are some details around that?
Sure.
Yeah, I can speak on this a little bit, and then I'll let Jen come in with the nuts and bolts. Jen has more experience around a lot of the way this kind of transfer and the credits work than I do. So first year focus, what's nice is that you need to actually find 2 more classes. You have 2 classes that will be set for you. You'll actually be registered for what you'll see as 2.5 credits. Focus program has a half credit attached to it as part of this kind of dinner course that you'll have. And the idea is 2 of your classes will be baked in already with focus, and your focus class will count as your first year seminar in your first year. So you don't have to take an additional first year seminar, so that the focus takes care of that. So what you'll be looking for is those 2 other classes that you want to add to your coursework while you're working on focus. So ultimately, you will fully register for 4.5 credits in the fall. Your seminar will be taken care of. Most students will be automatically, if you're in focus for the fall, you will be set to take writing 101 in the spring. That's not always 100% the case, but in general, the rule is that if you're taking focus, you should be assigned writing 101 for the spring. So you can anticipate taking that in the spring. You'll take care of your seminar in your focus program in the fall, and you'll have that extra half credit while you're doing the program.
Yep, that's all right. The only thing I would add is that sometimes, because focus is seminars, so they're small, and a seminar is a class where you need to show up having read, you need to be prepared. It's a little more engaged than, say, a large lecture. So sometimes students like to pair them with larger lectures, which is fine. Focus classes have loads of codes. So lots of students worry that if they do focus, will they have time to do pre-health, do other tracked things? You absolutely will. Really, students will be very pleasantly surprised, and focus is just a wonderful program and students really love it. So if you're thinking of doing it, I would encourage you to do it. The program will register you for those 2 classes, so you don't need to worry about it. Like Ian said, the 2.5 classes will show up in your DoCub whenever the focus program sorts that out. They'll put that in there for you. And I think the only thing I was going to say too is that sometimes it is good to take a larger class, like to pair focus with some larger intro classes can be a nice thing, because then you have classes of different types. So that's something that some students do, but this is something you can chat about with your advisor as well.
Yeah, most advisors are going to give you that advice generally anyways, is to say like, well, there's no balance here, right? You're taking 3 really large lecture courses. Focus, the balance skews the other way, right? You're already taking 2 smaller, almost 3 smaller courses. And so your advisor may kind of push you or challenge you into thinking about taking a larger lecture course, get some introductory courses kind of on your plate. Whereas if you're somebody who's going into some larger lecture courses, you may find your advisor encouraging you, not telling you, right, but encouraging you to think about taking writing 101 or think about taking a smaller seminar. We really want Duke students to have both experiences in their first year while they're here.
So could you guys talk just briefly about students who might be interested in studying abroad? And so wondering about kind of the DAE's role in that versus global ed. How do they start getting connected? And what is a typical timeline of a student who's interested to study abroad? When does that typically happen?
You want me to, I'll jump in.
Yeah,
So,
please go for it.
and then you can fill in. Usually students go abroad junior fall. I mean, that's kind of like the vast majority, but you don't have to. You can go at a different time. So there are different options. Lots of people don't want to be away for spring, but that's also to say it's kind of down the road away. So, there's plenty of time to learn about it. The DAEs, we have a global civic cross-disciplinary advisor, and that person can really help students think through how StudyAway can fit. So if you're trying to fit pre-health and StudyAway, you want to do it. Maybe you want to even do your foreign language while you're abroad. That person can help you think through planning. And I would say usually the DAEs in our office, that's an earlier conversation. And then you kind of turn to the GEO office when you maybe know where you want to go, or you want to get really nitty gritty into the details. And every fall there's a big global ed fair, which is, in my opinion, the best thing to go to. You just go and check it out. You can go your first year, you could go, it's not too late to go sophomore, fall, and just talk to people, learn about programs, think about what you might want to get out of it.
And I think, like, I imagine too, thinking about placement tests here is coming up in people's minds. So Duke does placement tests not as a university scale. If you're thinking about studying abroad in a particular language, you should go read the requirements that language has, specifically that language, because that language department will tell you exactly how they onboard students. We don't, I don't want to say most languages don't have a placement exam. It's self-placement. They lay out what the requirements are, what the kind of like curricular requirements might be for something. And then they will do your faculty will do some quick assessment on those first days of classes, right? To make sure that, like, hey, this is a 400 level like French film course, not just a class about French films, but it's a course in French about French cinema, and then recognition that, like, oh, maybe this isn't the right, I was interested in this subject, but I don't have the French fluency to be able to pull this off. I think that you'll learn that really quickly, right? By looking at the description of the course and then looking at the description. There are a handful of languages that require a kind of written assessment. I think Russian, for example, is maybe one of them that has a really quick they want to be able to, you have to be able to prove fluency in Russian. But again, that's kind of the exception as opposed to the rule. And so the best thing to do is to go look at the specific department coverage websites. For first years, there's often first year pages on every single department of this university's website dedicated on first year information on kind of what do you need to know, and go find, oh, I'm interested in studying Russian at this place. Let me go see what the Russian professors are saying about what I need to know coming in. And they will tell you then, yes, we have an assessment here. Here's what it looks like. Here's when you do it. Here's how you sign up to take it. Here's what we're looking for. Whereas other places will say, how much Spanish have you had? What kind? Where have you placed? Did you take an AP? What score did you get? Those kinds of things will be really valuable for you.
So,
yeah, study abroad. It's a wonderful opportunity, right? And I think that also, I think some of you may be worried about financial aid, right? That like your financial aid is also really committed to helping you study abroad. This university, if that's something that you want, like, seek that out. And we often speak in shorthand. My colleague said GEO office, that's the Global Education Office, right? They have their own advisors. And so when you've identified maybe 2 programs, you're like, okay, that's one of these 2, and you just don't know, and you don't know how to fit in with your schedule, that's a great conversation to go have with one of the specialty advisors in the GEO office, right? To be able to say, here's what I'm thinking about, how does this work? And they'll be able to say, yes, we see lots of students in this track and do this, or, ooh, you'd be the first one, and here's why people don't tend to do this, right? To give you that advice that you need moving forward to make the right choice for you.
So this is a really great question, kind of about how does a student know what a class is really about? Are there course descriptions somewhere they can find? Is there syllabi? How can they learn more?
Great. It's a really great question and a really reasonable question. So step 1 is to, in Duke Hub, when you're searching for classes, there's a quick view of a class that will just kind of lay out the name of the class, maybe the course number, what days of the week it meets, what time it meets. There's a little drop-down tab, looks like this. When you click on it, it will show you the extended view. And in that extended view, it will lay out a whole lot more information about this class. It will lay out what the prerequisites might be. It will lay out a kind of short description of that class. It will lay out what course codes it satisfied, right? You have curricular codes, which you'll learn about in the Blue Book under the Trinity Learning section. And it will tell you which codes that class satisfies. You will also find that different departments sometimes have information from their classes that they're going to be posting. You can go to the department website and look around to see what's out there. But I think that's the kind of the first place is like to do the extended view in DoCub, and then to go look at the department website to see if you can find a more robust description. Is there another place that you would point someone, Jen?
A couple things. So some classes on the class detail page, there's a synopsis as well. So you can click on the synopsis. Some of them also have a course eval. So you can go to the course eval for 89S and Writing 101. And we have links to this in our newsletter and I think on our webpage. Each department has detailed list of every single 89S and every single Writing 101. So you can read those. And of course, I'm just going to address Rate My Professor, just throwing this out there. I would just say proceed with caution. Students look at it, but you're really not going to learn what a class is like. And also, really, the way to learn about what a class is to go to the class. And so we have a drop add period, which means it runs in the summer, which means you can change classes around during the summer, but it runs into the semester. And so if you go to a class that sounds really interesting, but you get there and you think, oh, wow, this is not at all what I thought it was, you can change your mind. And it's a little bit stressful, but it's always so valuable to get that real hand information. You ask for the syllabi in the class and you can make your choices then.
Yeah, I think that's the right way. That some professors will occasionally share a syllabus beforehand. If you reach out, my advice in that moment is to reach out and be incredibly polite. You are ultimately asking someone to do something for you, right? You're asking someone to send something, and also recognize that faculty are constantly updating their syllabi every year. They're often doing that in the summer. And so the syllabus may not be ready. They may not actually have one that they feel comfortable sending out to you because they may change some readings around. They may work on an assignment. And so some faculty are going to say, no, I don't have one to give to you. It's not ready yet. Other folks would say, like, I don't want this circulating just yet. It's not done. But it's okay to send a polite inquiry saying, I'm considering taking this class, really interested in the topic. If you would be willing, would you please consider sending me the syllabus? I'd be really grateful to take a look at it as I'm making my decision. Sincerely, so-and-so. And if you don't hear back or they don't do it, don't take it personally. They're really busy. They are working on these things. But if you're really itching and it's something that you need to know and you can't wait till that first day to see it in your hand, you can inquire really politely about it, but also understand that some faculty are not going to share their syllabi before the first day of class.
And any advice for a student who doesn't know where to start? You guys mentioned peer advisors, looking at different course requirements online. Where should a student start?
I'll let Jen speak to what maybe resources we could point somebody to. I would say start with a short, start by being curious. What things do you want to know more about? I think one of the things that's really hard to get your head around is that you have the opportunity to take classes that you've never had the opportunity to take before. And not just like, oh, a cool art class that I couldn't otherwise take. But fundamentally, right, being able to take these really specific, really tight classes that focus and drill down on these subjects, right? Some really broad introductions, like really thinking about, you may actually really love statistical science. You just haven't had the chance to actually be in one of those courses yet. Some of you will have. I think if you don't know where to begin, start with yourself. Don't think about what's the sheet that I should go look at. Ask yourself what you want to do here. What are you curious about? Go look and be open. Find classes that meet at a certain time and just see what's there. Go look at some department websites, right? On our website, we have a list of every department and a link to their first year page. That's one place for somebody who really has no idea what to do and they want to know what's around, is to go scroll on that. You will scroll because there are a lot of departments, there are a lot of programs, but it gives you a chance to just like look through them. If one catches your eye, you're like, oh, I didn't know that I could study ecology here. I was kind of had to do biology and that was it. Oh, there's like a whole ecology program. Like, that's really wild. Click on that. Go read about their department. Go look at what classes they're offering. Look in DuCub at what's being offered in the fall. I think that's one way to begin, is to really begin with your curiosity, begin with what interests you. Go look at those first year pages, and then begin finding those classes that are really going to scratch that itch that you have. Would you add anything to that, Jen?
Well, so you can also think, you can sort of narrow down the options in the sense that you're only going to pick 4 classes. If you're in focus, you're only going to pick 2 classes besides your focus classes. So for those not in focus, one of your classes is either Writing 101 or a seminar. So that's one thing. Another class might be something that was your absolute favorite subject in high school that you think you might major in. So check that out. Another subject could be just something really different and out there, cultural anthropology, something that you maybe have an interest in that you could not take in high school because they don't have cultural anthropology. In the registration section of the Blue Book, read about using advanced search. So most students are not going to go, look at all these departments. I'm going to go look at each one. I'm going to look at every class I have and every single one, and I'm going to pick classes. But the fact is, there are so many cool classes out there, and you're not going to find them unless you poke around a little bit. You can do an advanced search and say, well, just show me everything. Let me see, what are the social sciences? As a way to educate yourself. Well, what are the social sciences? Where might be, if you think you're interested in psychology, you might actually find that you're interested in something psychology adjacent. That's another social science. So you can pull long lists of classes and just scroll, and do follow your interests and things that you're curious about, knowing that everything you take is going to count toward Trinity requirements. You're going to have plenty of time to meet all your requirements.
That's great.
Awesome. Well, that's probably about as much time as we have for our questions. Jen, Ian, any sort of wrap up, leaving students with anything before we kind of head out?
Yeah, I'll kind of double back on our calendar, right? Take a deep breath. You are going to hear from your college advisor sometime in mid to late June, early July, before registration begins on July 11th or the 13th, depending on your registration window. You will hear from them. They will email you directly at your Duke email. They will introduce themselves. They will show you how to make an appointment with them. Make that appointment. Add some classes that you're interested to your shopping cart to help give them a sense, right? You're gonna do your first year questions. You're gonna add some classes to your shopping cart. You're gonna come with questions. That will set you up for a more productive conversation. The more you know going in, the less kind of ground your college advisor has to cover about requirements or how many classes you can register for. Right, it's easier to say, can you help me confirm my placement in calculus, rather than to say, what calculus should I take? It's really different to say, I've looked at these things, I kind of understand how this goes. Here are the 2 classes that I'm kind of debating about. Can you help me figure out which one you think would be right for me? And they can help you think through that and identify the right one for you. And so I really want you to take a deep breath, recognize that there is a lot of time in the next 4 years to take the classes that you need to take, right, for your career path, for your major, but also there is room for you to take classes that would be nice to take. You may not be able to take them in the fall of your first year, right? But recognize that you will have to take some classes outside of your narrow track. You can't just take only finance classes. You'll have to take some other things. That's how our curriculum is designed, right? We want to produce really well-rounded, informed, experienced graduates. And part of that mission of this university is lived out through the curriculum. Recognize that we are also here to support you on this process. By we, I mean the Academic Advising Center specifically. If you have questions that you feel like cannot wait for a meeting with a college advisor, please reach out to us. Give us a little bit of time, as you can imagine by the number of people who have been in and out of the Zoom. We do get a lot of questions, right? So treat this as a recognition that we're not a live chat bot. We may need 24 or 48 hours lead time to respond meaningfully to your inquiry. But reach out to us. You will get an answer from us. We will set something up, right? We will make sure that you get the questions that you need. Breathe. Read these resources, take them seriously, right? When we say, hey, go read this, the more informed you can be during that first meeting, the smoother, and I think more informative for you and clarifying that meeting will be. You've done a lot of work to get here, it's really exciting. you have a real chance to lay out what success is going to look like for you at this university, and a chance to really explore and get to know yourself and get to know this wonderful place. We're really glad you're here.
Awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks so much,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you all so much. We hope you have a really great rest of your night. Please join us. Tomorrow we have our Pratt webinar if you're interested in learning more. And then check your email for your Duke Digests for our upcoming webinars in Summer Transition Series. Jen, Ian, thank you for being here. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Good night.